Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Welcome in. It's the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It is Thursday, and that means it's time for the OG Hour. Happy New Year, everybody. I'll be up front with you. We're recording this on December 30th on Tuesday, but we wanted to have an episode for you to kick off, hopefully, a much better year than we had in 2025 as Chiefs fans, because Patrick Allen here with you, as always, joined by the blog father, Adam Best. Adam, if you think back on it, 2025 was just a miserable year for Chiefs fans. It was really a whole year of won a couple playoff games, went to the Super Bowl, but then you had the Super Bowl loss, and then this season, which has been awful.
You get the break speed off you in the Super Bowl, and then this regular season here in 2025, this was far worse than our previous worst case scenario. I never even imagined that a season could go this wrong in the Patrick Mahomes era, but here we are. I blame myself personally. I know you are a fantasy champion, just basking in the limelight over there. Me, I was 0 for 5 in my leagues. I missed the playoffs in our reader league, even though I was coming on late. And then I made the playoffs in 4 other leagues, 0 wins. Also, my Pacers might have had an even more brutal year than the Chiefs. So I think I just can't wait to get out of 2025. 2026, let me in. Let's go. I think it's going to be a much better year for Chiefs Kingdom. The cupboard is kind of barren, and I'm really excited about, we're going to get to it, but where the Chiefs are likely to select, not only in the first round, but each round of the 2026 draft.
Yeah, there's hope on the horizon. We got taken by surprise this year, but boy, we have a lot of memories to lean on and to keep us going. And that's what the theme of the show is going to be about today. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter show than you can usually expect with Adam and I, but I want to unpack some of the true and false right now, because I feel like Chiefs Kingdom is melting down. I mean, I'm seeing stuff, just crazy talk, and I know it's been bad and it's frustrating, but if you hop on Chiefs Twitter right now, you at the Andy Reid's the worst coach of all time. Brett Veach is an idiot. Spags sucks. Kelsey needs to retire. Mahomes isn't any good. I mean, it's amazing because I don't feel like the Chiefs this year are that different than the Chiefs last year. I just think some breaks didn't go their way and there were some execution issues. And last year, everybody in Chiefs Twitter and Chiefs Kingdom was defending the Chiefs against accusations that they're not really that good and that they're only getting lucky. And then they have a bad season. And it's like now Chiefs fans have bought into all that. And they're like, yeah, they're not that good. There are huge roster holes everywhere. The offense is a disaster. I think there are some exaggerations, and we're going to do a true or false. And I want to determine with you what's real and what's people just hitting the panic button after having to endure their first losing seasons in a long, long time.
And some people are enduring their first losing season ever. We've got a lot of young Chiefs fans. We've got a lot of Chiefs fans from around the country, and we welcome them all, that have been inspired by Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones and wanted to be part of the kingdom. Taylor Swift has brought in a bunch of new fans. So it's like, I tweeted this a while ago, the Bane thing. You and I, we were born in the losing. We were molded by it, but these new cats, not so much. So we're going to have to take them under our wing and help them deregulate that nervous system a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. But to kick things off, the Chiefs, I can't believe I'm about to say this, have a top 10 pick. Are they currently the 9th pick?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct? Yeah. So,
Mhm.
and they've got a chance to move up to 8 because there are some bad teams right around them that are playing each other next week. The Chiefs could lose to the Raiders, although they're 5.5-point favorites, despite Chris Oladokun being the starting quarterback. So the Raiders are trying to tank. So, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, you mentioned earlier at the top of the podcast, you're very excited about the possibility of picking inside the top 10.
It's very hard to get blue chip players outside of that range. Not at all positions, but what the Chiefs really need is an edge. They might not get it, but this would be a great time to do it. I know it's maybe not the best class, but there are a lot of possibilities. I know people are very excited about Jeremiah Love, a few of the receivers, just a lot of directions they could go. And also, when you're in the top 10, you can trade up, you can trade back. You get another like top 40 pick. It might be like, 42 or something, but they're in a great spot for the draft. And we really haven't picked outside that bottom 4 for almost a decade. It's been crazy. So Thank you, Falcons. It was bizarre that the Falcons won on Monday night because the Rams have their pick. So it was like a double whammy for the Rams. But we thank you, Atlanta. We thank you.
Yeah, indeed. So this is exciting, and we'll see how the last week plays out and where the Chiefs slot, but it gives them more flexibility in the draft than they've had in a while. And we've heard tales of Brett Veach wanting to move up to get players, but having a limit, right? And that limit was usually sometime in the early 20s, maybe 22, 23, that like, we're not going any higher than that because it's going to cost us too much. Now, if you're talking about moving from 9 to 5, you know what I mean? It's just a whole different ball game in terms of what you have to. You still have to give up because it's a high end premium pick and it costs more, but it's not crazy if they have an edge that they really like and they want to get them. The other thing is you're going to have a couple of teams at the top, like the Raiders, there's at least 2 teams up there, I think, who are going to want to take quarterbacks. And so if quarterbacks go, obviously the Chiefs don't need a quarterback. So that pushes players closer to the Chiefs and makes it a little bit easier for them to determine where they need to be and what other teams' needs are. So they've got the ammo, they've got the some extra picks from the Tooney trade and stuff like that if they want to make a move and even give up some picks next year, they can do it. So I'm excited. And we'll have plenty of time this offseason, unfortunately, to talk about it. But let's get into Chiefs true or false, Adam. Like I said, I feel like people are melting down. I feel like there's just a lot of negative Nancy's. And it's not just some of the new people, old, long time people who've been covering the Chiefs. They're saying stuff about this team that and again, I do not think that Andy and Beach and the front, like there is fault to go around for how this season turned out. And I think fans have a right to be mad about wasting a season of Patrick Mahomes' prime. You should be in the playoffs playing for a Super Bowl every year when you have Patrick Mahomes. That is a fair argument. I'm not gonna push too much back against that. But I just see a lot of revisionist history from people who are sort of like, I always knew that this team stunk, and it was like last year they were in the Super Bowl. Like they didn't just go from being good enough to make it to a Super Bowl to being a terrible team that picks in the top 10. There are like factors that have led to all of this, right? I mean, there were a couple games earlier this season. If they pull it out like they did last year, they're still in the playoff race right now. And obviously Mahomes doesn't get hurt, right? So it's just, I think some people are overreacting, and I want to try to clarify as much as we can, at least from our point of view, what the truth is here and what is false. So let's start off with the big one that a lot of people are throwing around, that the game has passed Andy Reid by and he should retire or be fired. Is this so true or false? And you can let us know in the comments. I know this isn't a live show, but fire off anyway. True or false? Andy Reid, the game's passed him by. He can't recover.
It is false, but I reserve the right to change my mind. The thing we need to mention here is usually even dynasties have ebbs and flows. Well, for the Chiefs, it's been all flow. It's been no ebb. I don't think outside of maybe trading Tyreek Hill, they've recalibrated much. And I think they handled that so much better than they expected to. They never really took a step back. So they never really had the chance to step back and totally reimagine Mahomes 2.0, this next era. And now they do. It would have been kind of ridiculous off of 3 Super Bowls to say, hey, we are going to preemptively break this thing up. And they did break it up a little bit. I mean, they got rid of L'Jarius Sneed. They got rid of Joe Thuney. So they have been trying to stay young as they've been also trying to go for it. I don't think they've been all in or anything like that. I think Brett Veach and Clark Hunt need to sit Andy Reid down and have a frank heart-to-heart with him. And sometimes when you're someone of Andy Reid's stature in this world, people don't want to tell you the harsh truths. And I think he needs the people in his life to tell him, Andy, we need some outside blood in this coaching staff. We need to rethink things. We need to shake things up. He's done it before. People thought he was cooked in Philadelphia, right? And now, I mean, he was one of the top coaches in the league for the Eagles, didn't have a nice ending there. But now we don't even think of the Eagles as a huge part of the Andy Reid story. It's an afterthought. It's a little button on the end of a long story in Kansas City. He's done it before. I think he can do it again. But if they miss the playoffs next year, I think that's it. But as long as they get back to winning 10, 11, 12, 13 games next year, it's fine.
You know, the Chiefs have lost 5 in a row. They've played a game without Patrick Mahomes, 2 games without Patrick Mahomes. Their offense, they can't do anything now because they're at a 3rd-string quarterback. Who, off the top of your head, who do you think has a better point differential? The 6-10 Kansas City Chiefs, who have lost 5 in a row, or the 11-5 playoff-bound Chicago Bears?
Just the nature of the question makes me think it's close, and I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
It's the Chiefs. Plus 36. The Bears are plus 29. They also have a better point differential than the Baltimore Ravens, who are 8-8, plus 28, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are still fighting for a playoff spot, at plus 8. Again, this is after 2 games without Mahomes. It was better before. If you organize the league by points for, the Kansas City Chiefs have scored 350 points on offense. That's lower middle of the NFL because of the 2 games without Mahomes. The 11-5 Philadelphia Eagles have scored 12 more points on offense than the Chiefs. And they're potential Super Bowl favorite. Now, some of you might be listening and might say, Patrick, that's because the Eagles have an unbelievable defense. And so they're winning in spite of their offensive challenges. The Philadelphia Eagles have given up 13 fewer points than the Kansas City Chiefs. Does that mean the Chiefs are good and then the Eagles aren't? Well, what does it mean? It just means that the variance in the NFL, particularly when you play in a lot of one-score games, is crazy, to the point where, from a point scored and points against perspective, even with 2 games without Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles are basically the same team. They are basically the same team, and one of those teams is 11-5, and one of them is 6-10. So when people say that the game has passed Andy Reid by, there was a stretch in October where this team was going scorched earth on people. They were putting up 400 yards against teams. They had over 400 yards against the Jaguars. It's been an execution thing. Now, I'm not saying there isn't that they should run back the same offense and that they don't need a running back, or that they don't need a pass. I'm not saying any of those things. What I'm saying is they are not as bad as they look. You are what your record says you are, but they are close enough with a few bounces of the ball and execution and those types of things from being a playoff team. And so it's to the people suggesting that the game has passed Andy by and that the whole team is broken. You're just wrong. You know who's broken? The Las Vegas Raiders, who have been outscored by 193 points this year. or the Cleveland Browns, who have been outscored by 102. These are bad teams. The Chiefs are probably a fringe playoff team this year, right? And it just didn't go their way. So I'm going big false. And I think it is insane for people to suggest that Andy Reid, who has been on the vanguard of offensive innovation for decades, can't figure this out. And everybody going into this season, everybody thought this offense was going to be awesome. Everybody. They were like, Xavier Worthy, once we get Rashee Rice back, Josh Simmons looked good in the preseason. And for a while, they were good, even though they didn't have a running game. So, up to a few weeks ago, I think the Chiefs, the last few years, they were like at 7th in like offensive efficiency or something like that. I got the stat from Bill Barnwell. The offense is not a disaster. I know it feels like it, but it is not a disaster, and neither is Andy Reid. And I don't think they're that far away from figuring out a way to fix it.
A quick example of why I think they can turn this around is last year, Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers, very snake-bitten season, much like the Chiefs have had this season. They went 6-11. Now things are going a little bit more right for them. They've still had some challenges, but they're 12-4. So I don't think, just like Kyle Shanahan didn't forget the X's and O's and kind of lose his magic overnight, I don't think Andy Reid has, but he's going to have to prove that. And I think he probably will.
I do as well. Now here's the second one. This one's been driving me a little bonkers. I know where you stand on it, but true or false, Andy should be playing all the young guys.
True. This is probably the biggest true on the list. Screaming neon lights. When I see Jeffrey Bossa get 6 snaps and I see Rashard Smith not getting very many touches and Jalen Royals not really being featured, I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I understand that the Chiefs are confident in their practice evaluations, but we've known people in sports who have not been very good practices. I mean, in our own life, and just observing, and they're what you call gamers. For some reason, some players, when the lights are the brightest and there's the most pressure upon their shoulders, they're at their best. Other ones are at their worst. So I just don't think you really know what you have until it's actually game time. So I don't see any reason Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, you and I should go to Vegas this weekend and kidnap the two of them so they have to play Rashard Smith. Is that what it's going to take? And I know they probably think Rashard Smith's a little bit of a gadget guy or whatever, like a Dexter McCluster. Well, we don't really have those players in the NFL anymore. You know why? Because with advances in scheme and motion and all these different things, we're better at getting the ball in those guys' hands. Even McCole Hardman, we found a way to get him touches. And I'd ask the coaching staff in the front office, if this was your plan for Rashard Smith to be this limited of a guy, why the hell did you pick him in such a deep running back class if you didn't think he could at least be a poor man's Jerick McKinnon? Maybe he can't run the ball up the middle or do much, but let's find out. And Jeffrey Bossa, we didn't see a lot, but he looked good in limited snaps. I don't see any reason Juju Smith-Schuster and his 147-year-old knees and Hollywood Brown, who's miraculously stayed healthy but isn't in the team's future plans, why are they stealing reps from Jalen Royals? They're doing Brett Veach a disservice. Brett Veach needs to know what he has. I'd like to see even more of Jaden Hicks. The list goes on and on. At least we're seeing what we have in Chu Godric, who looks pretty good, and Esapole, who also looks pretty good. So we have that information. But just play the young guys this week, secure as high of a draft pick as you can, and give yourself more intel heading into the damn draft.
Let me ask you, why do you think they aren't doing it? Like, why aren't they playing Jeffrey Bossa? Why aren't they playing Rashard Smith a ton? Everybody thinks these guys are good based on it feels very preseason to me, I guess is what I'm saying, right? Like you see a guy have like 4 good plays in the preseason. You're like, oh, why aren't they starting? And then they don't make the roster. And it's because they're not actually that good. And the coaching staff knows it. So I understand what you're saying from a experience, right? You have them, they're on the team, you drafted some of these guys, play them, let them get the experience, because nothing else matters anyway. It's a chance to evaluate them. And if nothing else, even if you think maybe they're not that good, get them the experience to maybe give them the opportunity to try to prove you wrong. But so why do you think it is? Why aren't they playing Jeffrey Bossa?
I don't know, man. At least if you really don't think they're that good, and I actually think they probably think Jeffrey Bossa is pretty good, but confirm your priors. Throw Brashard Smith out there and let him sink or swim. You think he's probably going to sink? Know for sure. Check off that box. I think this is a team that is used to winning football games. They have a lot of vets. I think veteran deference is kind of the thing with Spags, especially, and also Andy Reid to some degree. They're used to running their program like this. And I don't know if it's old habits die hard or whatever, but they just are doing things the way they normally do them. And they've had kind of a hard time shaking that. I also think I don't know, maybe this is a bitter pill to swallow and they want to give some of these older guys a chance to prove themselves for their next contract, whether it's Hollywood Brown or Drew Tranquil or whatever. I really don't know. I mean, with Travis, you want him to kind of end this on his own terms in case he retires. But with everybody else, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
My theory is that they're trying to win. And I think it's as simple as that. It's not that they're incompetent. It's not that they don't want to play the young guys to evaluate them. It's that they're trying to win, and they believe, whether they're right or wrong, I don't know. And I think a lot of Chiefs fans and even the people that watch film and stuff could benefit from taking this approach sometimes as part of their analysis, that they don't, like, there's just stuff they don't know. and
Sure.
you know, I think that they're just trying to win, and I think that they think these guys give them the best chance to win. Like they're playing Chu Godric because they have to. They're playing Esapole because they have to. And it's the same thing, right, with the game last week against the Broncos. People were like furious that they weren't throwing the ball. Like let Oladukin throw it. You know, why are we playing so conservative? Why are we running Kareem Hunt? And why are we going so slow? And I think the reason is because they're trying to win the game, and they almost did win.
But why? But why? That would be
I'm
my
not
question.
arguing that they should try to win, right? But I think that, you know what I mean? Like, I think that they are, and I think it's because it's different for us sitting on the couch, right? We want to, we want to see the guys, and we want them. We're thinking about next year and the draft already. From their point of view, I think they get paid to win football games and to win as many football games as they can, and they're just not wired to concede. Guy like Andy Reid, I just don't think he's going to do it. You know what I mean? Like he wants to try to win the game. He wanted to try to beat the Broncos. He's going to want to beat the Raiders, and they probably will. And
I'd argue that he's paid to win Super Bowls in Kansas City. Nothing else matters. And this isn't the Tennessee Titans in Nashville. We're not building a culture. We don't want some moral victories to carry over into 2026. None of that matters. You know, like this team needs to rediscover its mystique and its aura, but they know how to do this. We have the experience. We have the locker room. We have the culture. There's no reason to get these moral victories. We need information about young players. They need experience. We need draft positioning. Those are the things that are important. Even with the coaching staff, experiment. Try things you wouldn't try in games you really need to win. Don't let pride set you back long term. Is what I'd argue, but I'm not sure. You know, maybe this is just the way they do things, and that's part of their DNA, and this is part of why they've been successful, and they just can't pull back.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that they probably think, and again, I'm not necessarily arguing against, like, for them the way that they're handling things, but I'm trying to put myself in their shoes and figure out, because to me it's like the people on Twitter and stuff, the answer is it's either they do what I think they should do or they're incompetent. And I think there's probably something in the middle there, which is like maybe they should play the young guys to get information on them, but from their point of view, they know what they have in Jeffrey Bossa. They know what they have in Brashard Smith. They're confident in that. And what their goal is to try to win the game. And so they're not going to play those guys because they don't think that playing Brashard Smith a ton of snaps in a week 17 game is what gives them the best chance to win, or is going to actually tell them anything they don't already know about him as a player. right? And I understand that's frustrating for us on the couch, and maybe they're wrong. But I think when you combine, we're going to try to win every game we can, no matter what, with we know what we're talking about because I'm Andy Reid. That's what you get, right? You get like, I know what Jeffrey Boss is. I don't need to play him. He doesn't give me the best chance to win. And my goal is to win the game. And I'm going to know just as much about him in the offseason than if I see him play a few snaps against the Denver Broncos. Sometimes they may be trying to protect these guys and their confidence too. It's possible that they just don't feel like they're ready and they don't want to turn them out there and put them in just enough to get a little bit of confidence and experience. You know, and again, I'm not saying that they're right or they're wrong. That's just my take. I think that's probably what they're doing. And, you know, if those guys come out and they play really well next year, maybe they were right to handle it this way. Maybe they don't want to get Rashard Smith killed, you know, because he's so small and they don't have the right offensive line in there. You know, and they don't have Patrick Mahomes. And so he's not set up to succeed. I do think there's an element of like just playing guys to play them isn't necessarily going to be a positive, right? Like, how much do you think that the guys that played in the week 18 game last year against Denver, where they got boat raced, you know, do you think that was
Kingsley played a little guard, and
her point, and they saw and they liked what they saw in that game,
right?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know,
but maybe this is the week where they really start experimenting. They played it all the way through, and now we're at the time where it's, I don't know. Good luck out tanking the Raiders. I guess we'll get to that.
Yeah. It's fascinating. All right. So speaking of things we don't know, but everybody is absolutely sure that they do know, Matt Nagy is the problem with the offense. True or false?
I'm going to say false, but I think the best possible outcome would be for him to leave and take a head coaching job, or even to take a offensive coordinator job where he actually gets to call plays. It'd be what's best for him. It would be what's best for the Chiefs. I do not think Eric Bieniemy is a better offensive mind than Matt Nagy. I think Matt Nagy probably he seems like he has the CEO type qualities that make you a decent head coach, which is ironic. You know, like Josh McDaniels is a way better offensive coordinator, but he doesn't have those CEO, he doesn't have that affable personality to be a player's coach or whatever like that. But I think Eric Bieniemy challenged the players, challenged the locker room, challenged even Andy Reid probably a little bit better. Just his personality. He's not a natural yes man. So I think not only do they need someone who's willing to like help create that team of rivals. I've talked about that a lot, that Abe Lincoln thing where people are challenging each other for the best outcome and the best ideas. They also just need some new young blood. Maybe the best we can do is Mike Kafka, because he's from the tree, but at least he got to learn from being outside the nest a little bit. I don't think saying Matt Nagy, a offensive coordinator who doesn't call the plays. Yes, he helps prepare the game plans, but he doesn't call the plays. Calling him the only problem, it's just false.
Yeah, I think I'm going with false because I just think nobody knows. You don't know. Like it's an impossible thing to know for us, for sure, whether or not he sucks, he's a terrible offense coordinator, and that's why the offense is struggling, or it's Andy, or we don't know. And I remember whenever the offense struggled when Eric Bieniemy was here, everybody blamed Eric Bieniemy. They saw one clip of him fighting with Mahomes, and then every time the offense struggled, now we need EB back. EB's fire. And this is my point about the hypocrisy of the Chiefs fandom. And this isn't unique to Kansas City fans. It's everybody does this crap. Is they just get, there's like a groupthink narrative of EB because we saw him yelling on the sidelines was more fiery. And then, but when he was here, these same people were saying, he's the issue. We got to get him out of here. Mahomes hates him. And the answer is nobody knows. You just nobody really knows. If you're not in the building, you don't know. You had all the same people that were like, get rid of him when he couldn't get a head coaching job. They were like, see, he was never any good. He was never any good. That's why nobody will hire him as a head coach. It's just wild. I just don't think there's a way to know. Maybe that's a frustrating answer for people. And you can make the argument, right? You're the offensive coordinator. The offense is not living up to expectations. You're responsible. I don't need to know, right? And that's fair. And you can lay that at Andy's feet too and say, you're the head coach. The buck stops with you. If they win, you get the credit. But I just feel like, I always hear about people talking about how terrible Connor Embry is. There ain't a single Chiefs fan out there that knows a damn thing about whether or not Connor Embry is a good head coach, a good wide receiver coach. They just don't know because he couldn't get Kadarius Toney to catch the ball. Like, does he get any credit for Rashee Rice's development? I've never heard anybody give him any credit for that. But
it's tough though, because you have to evaluate these coaches on something. And one of the things that's so challenging about the Chiefs, this goes for not only Matt Nagy, but Brett Veach, is Andy Reid has outside control for a head coach. Most head coaches do not have carte blanche over the entire franchise. So it's sort of hard to know where Andy Reid stops and these other guys start. Yep. But with Connor Embry, the fact is that Mahomes has had more drops than any quarterback over the Connor Embry era, which is the last 3 years. And a lot of different wide receivers have had drop problems. You've had the route running is lazy. It's sloppy. Like, if that's not Connor Embry, who is it? And if it's not Connor Embry, then they're probably not delegating things properly. So I do think there's a problem with the wide receivers. It might not be fair to pin that all on Connor Embry, but something is going on.
Yeah, maybe it's scheme. The drops that's just a weird thing because you're a professional football player. I don't know, how can I coach you to catch the ball other than to tell you to work on the jugs machine? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So it's one thing to be able to teach people the techniques, but sometimes it's just not the right mix of people. They're not the right personnel. But again, maybe I'm just playing the contrarian here. I find it funny that like nobody ever talks about the development of Rashee Rice and how impactful he's been in this offense, but we only focus on the negative. It's an unknowable for me, but I would like to see the Chiefs develop more at the receiver position and have we see other guys come along and be surprise guys that kind of come out of nowhere. And the Chiefs haven't had that before Connor Embry. We weren't really developing wide receivers at an impressive rate. So we'll see. We'll see if they make the Chiefs will tell us by the changes they make this offseason. Gonna have to speed up a little bit here. Spags is too reliant on his guys. So this is your Jeffrey Boss argument, right?
It's true. It's not just Jeffrey Bossa. It harkens back to Ben Neiman over Willie Gay, to Daniel Sorensen over Juan Thornhill. Yep. This year, the inexplicable commitment to Chamari Connor, even when it just looks like a disaster out there. And also just bringing back Derek Nottie, right? And Mike Pinnell, and not playing Joshua Uche last year. And Christian Fulton looks pretty good last week. Why is he in the doghouse? It's just a little bizarre with Spags sometimes. And I think when he's on one, which he has been on one for most of his tenure in Kansas City, it's hard to question him. But when he's lost a little bit of his fastball like he has this year, I think it's totally fine to question why he favors certain players. I think it's the same thing as Andy. They're pretty precious about their scheme. They want guys that know it in and out. They want certain body types and certain molds. But this year, it doesn't seem to be working for him.
I'm with you on this one. I'm going true. I think I don't know. It's hard for me to second guess such a great, potentially a Hall of Fame coordinator. But sometimes you just need some juice. And that's what we got. Like Juan Thornhill was probably like all in, like in their prime. Daniel Sorensen was a better player than Juan Thornhill. Like he just was. He was a better fit for the offense, and he was more trustworthy. But Juan Thornhill was much more athletic. And once Dan's athleticism dipped to the point where his brain couldn't keep him in the game anymore. Like you watch Aaron Rodgers go out there, right? Like he's not what he once was, but his brain, like he still managed to drag the Steelers into a potential playoff berth. Like his brain, you can play longer at quarterback than you can in a position that requires your athleticism. And it was so clear during that season that Dan was just toast. He couldn't keep up anymore. And we just needed, even if Juan Thornhill was going to make mistakes, at least he had a chance to recover. And Dan had no chance to recover. And Spags stuck with him for too long. And it's an issue. And when things aren't going well, sometimes if you're going to fail, you may as well fail by leaning on the guys who have the athleticism and the juice that they may make a play for you too, that helps you win a game. And when you're losing a lot of close games, maybe Jeffrey Boston makes a tackle in the backfield that one of these other guys can't make, or try. It's just so. I'm with you on this, and I would like to see a little bit more trust in bringing in some of the. It's a young man's game, particularly on defense, man. When you can't play defense as an old man, you just can't.
Unless you're Calais Campbell or Harrison Smith, there are very few exceptions.
Very few.
There's 3 or 4 in the league, right?
Yeah. Seeing a lot of people say, Adam, that Travis Kelce is washed and should retire. Do you think he should retire, or would you invite him back?
I'd invite him back. This is false. And I think the same thing's been happening with Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. There have been a couple high leverage late game moments where these guys have had huge gaffes that, if you want to say this one play cost the Chiefs the game instead of the other, over 100 plays or whatever, you can't do that. And I think for guys that have been such clutch performers, it's fair to say you're better than that. We need more from you. Your contract and your stature say that you should be delivering in these moments. But if you really look at the entire product they both put out there this year, they've still got it, man. He's third in yards among tight ends. And not really with some of the things that have been happening with wide receiver injuries and Mahomes being out, not the most favorable situation this year, what's going on with the tackles. I think he's still got it. Travis Kelce has done so much for us, guys. We can't tell him when to leave. That's for him to say. I'm
with you. It's false. You want his head to be in the game, and the contract has to be right. And he's no longer the guy that can be the focal point or centerpiece of the offense, but he still has a connection with Mahomes. He's still dangerous. And if they could get the rest of the offense in a better position at the receiver position, keep things solid along the line, and get a running game going, Travis Kelce, he could give you 700-800 yards for probably multiple years to come and move the chains for you and help you get key first downs and help you get touchdowns. We've seen tight ends have graceful ends to their career, and it all comes down to where's his head at. I don't want him back if his head is elsewhere, because that's when you're going to see more of those concentration drops and those types of things. His heart has to be in it. I don't think you can play this game without your heart being in it. And that's something that he has to decide. And that may be ultimately why he decides to walk away, is that he's done everything he wanted to do. And he'll miss it, but he's ready for the next thing. He's got a little bit of senioritis. We'll see, but he is not washed. And if he's engaged and wants to play, he should be there. Chris Jones contract, huge mistake. True or false?
No. He's already helped pay that off with a Super Bowl trip. I forget when it was actually signed or extended, but PFF, not the end all be all, but especially in the trenches, I think a pretty damn good metric. He is one of 2 players among defensive tackles with a 90+ pass rushing grade. The only person that's higher than him is Jeffrey Simmons, who's basically been Godzilla this year. Jeffrey Simmons is at a 91.7. Chris is at a 90.7. He's right there where he usually is. He's third in pressures, only behind Simmons and Zach Allen among defensive tackles. According to Next Gen Stats, I believe he has the fastest get off of any defensive tackle in the league. So he's still got the athleticism. I just think this scheme is broken down. The coverage isn't as good. I think Karlaftis maybe has taken a baby step forward, but Charles Omenihu and Mike Dana have been albatrosses. They have been unbelievably bad, and they didn't bring back Turk Wharton. They lost Omar Norman Lott. He just needs some help. I think the guy still got it. I even think he's in a different situation than Travis Kelce. If Chris Jones came back next year and had a banner year, I would not be surprised at all. I think Chiefs fans have their brains a little broken when it comes to Chris Jones. I don't know if it's Aaron Donald, expecting him to be like Aaron Donald. There's only one Aaron Donald, guys, ever. Or if it's Chris Jones when he was younger and he wasn't getting double teamed as much, getting 17 sacks. Defensive tackles just don't get a lot of sacks. That's not the position. This isn't edge, So I think he's still a great player. I'd like to see them bring his snaps down so he can be the clutch performer. We saw it a few times this year. We saw him take over in the Colts game. He was unbelievable against the Texans in a loss. That first game against the Broncos, he was unbelievable. He still looks like the same guy most of the time to me.
Yeah, I think you just got to get him help. There needs to be somebody else that teams are worried about and have to think about double teaming. And maybe they can get that person in this draft. You put another really good edge on the other side of George Karlaftis, and you're going to start seeing more of the gaudy production numbers that you want to see from Chris Jones, because there's just no help there for him. You had to sign him. He's a Hall of Famer, and he's going to be able to continue to be productive for the next couple of years. And the Chiefs can get out of his contract with a minor, like a $19 million penalty, which ain't nothing, but he's going to be there this year, and we'll see what happens after that. All right, that's all the time we have for true or false. And we're just going to get to a really quick, like, what we think is going to happen in this Raiders game. But before we do, football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the place to get in on all the action. It's super simple. You just pick whether your favorite players are going to go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. If you get your picks right, you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. I love Underdog. I'm looking at some of the games coming up this weekend, and give me Christian McCaffrey higher than 68.5 rushing yards. He's an absolute monster. They're going up against Seattle. I think they're really going to lean on him in that game on Saturday. And then same thing, Derrick Henry, higher than 92.5 rushing yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers lost to the Browns. They've been good against the run this year, but I think the Ravens, with whatever's going on with Lamar Jackson, they're going to lead. They leaned on Derrick Henry like you would not believe. Over 30 carries. He rushed for like 200 yards to get themselves in a position to try to win the AFC North. I think they're going to do the same thing to try to get in the playoffs against the Steelers, and I think he's going to go for over 100. He's the king. It's his time of year. So listen, that's those are my picks for Underdog. So we've got a special promo for you. With Underdog Unwrapped, you'll unwrap tons of promos all throughout the holidays. We've got boosts, gimme picks, deal reveals, and even more surprises sprinkled in. So now is the best time to get in on the game. Download the app today and use our promo code ARROWHEADADDICT to score $75 in bonus entries. That went up when you play your first $5. That's promo code ARROWHEADADDICT. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and plays in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned about your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text 8-HOPE-NEW YORK to 467-369. All right. The Raiders. We're playing the Raiders. They have shut down Brock Bowers. They basically told their pass rusher, I can't spit out his name right now,
Max Crosby.
They told Max Crosby, go home. We're trying to get the number one pick. They won the Tankathon last week against the Giants by losing. The Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites. Their offense couldn't do anything last week against the Broncos, but it was very different sort of game. The Broncos were trying to get the number one seed. The Broncos were playing everybody. The Broncos have a good team and a good defense. The Raiders are a dumpster fire. Now, to be fair, the Chiefs have been a dumpster fire too the last couple of weeks. We don't really want the Chiefs to win this game because of we want the best draft pick possible. Do you think that there's any way the Chiefs can manage to lose this game?
Sure. I didn't think they were going to get boat raced by the Titans a few weeks ago. But one thing I think fans have to remember, yes, I think organizationally, the Raiders would like to have the top pick or a top 2 pick. However, the coaches on the field, the players on the field, they're playing for their future jobs. Geno Smith, his career is, but also beating the Chiefs and kicking the Chiefs when they're down. There's something to that. Teams are really enjoying that. I mean, we saw the Titans just really get a bolt of energy from sticking it to the Chiefs. So I wouldn't underestimate that. And the Chiefs have a 3rd-string quarterback. My heart goes out to Chris Oladukin. Get that paycheck, bro. But he's not an NFL quarterback. So I don't know. I wish Brock Bowers and Max Crosby were playing because they don't have a whole lot of difference makers. Maybe they'll hand the ball off to Ashton Jenney 30 times and he'll just run all over the Chiefs. I would absolutely love that. But I think the Chiefs are pretty locked in because of that Falcons win to a top 10 pick. Is it for certain, or can they still get like the 11th pick or something like that? I'd have to review it. But unfortunately, we're playing probably the worst team in the NFL at this moment.
Yeah, the Chiefs they're down there. I think it's going to be difficult based on the records. Let me pull up the league here.
The Saints and the Falcons play this week, which is huge.
Right. One of those teams, ideally the Saints would win, because right now the Saints are in front of the Chiefs due to some tiebreaker, I think. So if the Saints were to win, they would drop behind the Chiefs if the Chiefs lost. So that's really the Bengals. The Bengals, Chiefs, and Saints are all 6-10. And then the Falcons are 7-9.
Want the Bengals to win, right?
Yeah.
The Dolphins and Bucks, I think, are still you'd like for those teams to win.
I think the Bengals are playing the Browns and they're big favorites. But Burrow's going to play, I think I heard. So they're probably going to win that game. Although ask the Pittsburgh Steelers, that Browns defense is for real. And so they could cause some problems. But
the Pittsburgh Steelers, it felt like they were more concerned with stopping Myles Garrett from getting the record than winning the damn game. Like what was that about?
They really were. It was insane. I mean, they had 2 guys committed to him. Did you see the one play where he lined up on the numbers? He lined up on the numbers trying to get around that stuff. And yeah, he actually said that at the end of the game, which was, I think the Steelers were more concerned with stopping me than they were with winning the game. And that maybe cost them. So yeah, I think the Chiefs are pretty well locked in here to getting it. It's not going to make a huge difference. But I would like to see them, as a Chiefs fan, get a win for Travis Kelce if it is indeed his last game. But worst case scenario, give me a big Yeti day. Throw the ball to that guy every play, get him 150 yards receiving and a tutty, and then lose the game. That would be fine by me. We'll get to our final score predictions here, and we will have our game coverage to talk about it and all that on the weekend. I'll kick us off here. I've got this one: Chiefs 10, Raiders 6. Just an absolutely disgusting score here. Again, the Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites, so I think they will try to win the game, and I think they're probably good enough to win the game. But Ashton Jenney gets going. Geno's better than Oladokin. Who knows? But we'll go Chiefs 10, Raiders 6. What about you?
I'm the king of wishful thinking because I'm going Raiders 15, Chiefs 12 in the ultimate slop fest. No touchdowns, all field goals, nothing but field goals. Just Clockwork Orange making us watch the game like this, taking us back to the David Heward, Tyler Thigpen, Brody Croyle era. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think that is the safest assumption we can make.
Love it. All right. Real quick, we're not going to do our typical movie talk because we don't have time. I've got a meeting in 2 minutes I got to get to. So Patty's Power Rankings. We will give you some movie content, though. Just a recommendation, Adam, a movie you think people should see this year, any year. Lay a rec down on.
Yeah, I love sports movies, and I am a big fan of the Safdie brothers. This movie is only directed by Josh Safdie. But if you liked Uncut Gems, I think you're really, really, really going to like Marty Supreme. It is a movie about ping pong, but it is, I mean, your senses just get overwhelmed. It is 2.5 hours of pure cinema. It is my number one movie of the year. It passed in the final days of the calendar. It passed one battle after another, and it was just an accident. So go see it.
Nice. I'm going to go with just pick one of my all-time favorites. If you've never seen it or you're not a Coen Brothers fan, The Big Lebowski. Just a classic, fantastic, hilarious movie, unbelievable performances. David Thewlis and John Goodman. I mean, it's just packed with stars. It's a noir. If a noir, well, instead of your classic detective, was kind of a deadbeat stoner hippie, that's pretty much it. And it's a great, they did a similar thing with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, when they were like, what if the Odyssey was about some guys who were in jail. And it's a fun way to approach making movies. And it's not for everybody. Some people don't vibe with The Big Lebowski for whatever reason, but if it tickles your particular sense of humor, it's endlessly quotable and funny and interesting. And yeah, just an all-timer. All right. A couple movie recs for you. We hope you all are having a happy new year. Thank you for your support of the Arrowhead Addict podcast all year. We're not going anywhere. We're going to usher in this next Chiefs dynasty, I believe, with you. We'll have our incredible draft coverage, free agency coverage all the way through. So don't go anywhere. We'll have our post-game show after the Raiders game, and then we'll dive right into the offseason, and we're going to have to sit back and watch these playoffs, and that'll be frustrating. But then Brett Veach, Andy Reid, and company are going to get right back to work, hopefully bringing another ring like I won in our fantasy football league, Adam, to Kansas City. Thank you. Thank you to producer Sean for getting us up and running. Thank you to all of our members. If you're interested in becoming a member, check out the link in the description. Thank you to the blog father for creating Arrowhead Addict, Adam Best, my co-host. I'm Patrick Allen. We'll see you on the weekend. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.